Hello and welcome to Perspectives. It's good to have you with us today. I'm Sam Jones, and we are really pleased and proud to be able to introduce our first guest, Charles Fuschillo, who is a solid Italian in New York and president and CEO of the Alzheimer's Foundation of America. Charles, welcome.
Well, thanks so much for having me on, Sam.
A little bit about Alzheimer's. I have seen this malady affect families on both sides of the spectrum. What is it?
So Alzheimer's is a progressive brain disorder that impacts an individual's memory, thinking, and language skills, and the ability to carry out simple tasks. Alzheimer's is a disease, Sam. There's always a confusion. What is Alzheimer's and what is dementia? But Alzheimer's is a disease, and dementia itself is not a disease, but it's a terminology used to describe symptoms such as loss of judgment, loss of memory, and other intellectual functions.
Do we have any idea what triggers it?
No, we don't. And that's the whole thing, Sam. This was discovered back in the early 1900s and named after the doctor, Dr. Alzheimer's, when he was presenting a case of a patient who had cognitive malfunctions, memory loss, and the ability to just judge such simple tasks. But since the early 1900s, it's still a perplexed disease state. There's been new therapies that have slowed down the progressions, but for us here at the Alzheimer's Foundation of America, the finish line is finding a cure.
It's the most amazing malady, if you will, because I've seen it rip families apart. I've seen caregivers throw up their hands and walk away. It's a very difficult situation on both sides of the fence.
It truly is, and one of the things we encourage individuals, Sam, to do if they recognize in themselves or a loved one, early symptoms or the signs, memory loss, especially of recent events, names, and other information, confusion about time and place, and struggling to complete familiar tasks. We encourage them to see their primary care physician as soon as possible, because not all memory issues are attributed to Alzheimer's disease. Someone can have sleep apnea, depression, a thyroid issue, vitamin deficiency, but you won't know unless you go and have it examined.
So there is a good examination that one can go through that will tell you whether or not you have it.
That's correct, and that's important that they take the first step. Here at the Alzheimer's Foundation of America, we offer free memory screenings. We like to call it, Sam, a checkup from the neck up, and we'll ask a series of questions and test your memory, your thinking, and your language skills. And you'll get a baseline score like anything else that you do on an annual basis with your primary care physician. If you score below the baseline, we'll make certain recommendations to see further medical advice. But it's important that you take that first step.
Is there any way to halt the progression of it?
No, there's not. There's new drugs that the FDA has approved in the last 2 years that will slow down the progression. But Sam, I will tell you, the most important thing to do is what we've learned from elementary school. Exercise every single day, eat right, don't smoke, don't drink. Your habits of life and through your lifestyle can catch up with you. And so many times people forget we know what we put in our mouth affects our body, but it also affects your brain as well.
Let's talk about numbers just a minute. Have you any idea how many people across the United States are affected by it?
Sure, nearly 7 million people. And in the absence of a cure or meaningful new therapies, that number is expected to triple by 2060. In your state, Sam, there's more than 71,000 people living with the disease.
That you've identified.
That we've identified. Now think about this, how prevalent it is. Take that $7 million, that 7 million people that it's affected, or 71,000 in your state, and use a multiplier of 3 or 4 as a caregiving team. You could see how widespread and prevalent this disease is.
I would assume, and that I hate to assume anything, but I would assume that there are folks who come to you and say, I can't remember where I put my car keys, or I don't know why I took that glass out of the cabinet. I think I have Alzheimer's. Does that happen?
It happens all the time. We have a a helpline that's staffed by licensed social workers that are dementia specifically trained. So we receive thousands and thousands of calls, or people go through the helpline, which is a toll-free number. It's 866-232-8484, or go through our website, alzfdn.org. We have the ability to chat with people in 90 different languages. But the first thing we'll tell them is to talk to your primary care physician or take a memory screening. So we offer them throughout the country, but we also offer them virtually as well. So anytime, any place we can do that free, but that's where the baseline starts. And it's important that you take that step.
Can it strike any age?
It can. We just had a women's empowerment forum because Alzheimer's disease affects, more women than men. And there was a caregiver there from Boston, Sam. And when she was 29 years old, her husband was 29 years old, he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. Tragically, he passed away at the age of 34. So one of the misconceptions is that it's a normal part of aging, and it's not.
You said it affects more women than men?
2/3 of those statistics I showed you impact women more than men. And they can't tell you why. So if that's going to be your next question.
That was going to be the next question. Do we have any idea why?
Scientists can't tell you why. There's so many factors that play into this: stress, obviously, longevity of somebody living longer, but there's no conclusive evidence as to why this disease impacts women more than men.
I have heard all sorts of stories about people with Alzheimer's who, for example, some can respond to music.
Right.
Is that true?
Absolutely. We have therapeutic programs here that we do throughout the entire country, and it stimulates, memories. It stimulates other things in somebody. Music therapy is very, very powerful for anybody. And, if you're a care partner listening to this show, we encourage you to play their favorite music of the loved one you're caring for.
All right. If someone in your family is diagnosed with Alzheimer's, what do you recommend in terms of longevity of caring for them? Should they keep familiar things around them? What should be done?
So I'd say the first step is to pick up the phone, call our helpline here at the Alzheimer's Foundation of America, speak to a licensed social worker who is dementia specifically trained. They will talk to you and stay with you as the journey goes on. That's what's critically important. And why I emphasize that, Sam, is because our founder, Mr. Bergrodsky, when he was caring for his mom back in the 70s and 80s, he really had no place to turn to for any guidance, counseling, or support. You can't go on this journey alone, even as a care partner. So the first step is to pick up the phone and call AFA.
So I want to stress that you can't make the trip alone. That's incredibly important.
That is, you need to develop a care team, and we will educate you. We will stay with you the entire journey, the entire steps. We will prepare you what the next stages are. It's, you have to remember, once the disease walks into your front door and impacts somebody as a disease, it's also impacting the family and the care partners. And you need a guidance, you need a support system, and we will provide that to you, but we will educate you every step of the way on the journey.
Charles, I know you're a very busy man, and I am so grateful. All of us here are grateful for you taking time to talk with us about it, and I wish you the best in your journey.
Well, thank you so much for having me on.
We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll have more right after this. Our next guest now is Shawn Davis with Up With Trees, an important organization.
It is. I know. It's become a staple of Tulsa, I believe.
And I see you guys all over town.
Yeah, we have many tree sites planted across tons of different public spaces, from parks to highways, lots of locations.
Okay, let's go back just a little bit.
Okay.
How did Up With Trees get started?
So our founder, his name is Sid Patterson. He was the city commissioner at the time, and there was a project to widen 51st Street in Tulsa. and a high schooler called. His name is Elliot Howe, and he was asking, what are we doing about all the trees that are being taken out? And there's no plan to replant them. So it kind of spurred the seed. Sid started Up With Trees, which was purely volunteer-based. Lots of volunteers coming out, putting trees in the ground. No equipment, out of the back of pickup trucks. And now we've grown to, we'll be celebrating 50 years in about 2 years from now. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, it's incredible when I hark back to seeing the signs, Up With Trees, this is Up With Trees, da 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 da. How does one become a member?
Yeah, so our tree site locations are all along major roadways. Those are annual sponsorships that families or companies can do. They're about $2,000 a year to sponsor, and you get the customized Up With Trees sign. Many families choose it as a way to honor loved ones, remember loved ones, and companies like to do it as team building opportunities for their team to get out, plant trees together, sponsor a site. So yeah, we have many locations throughout Tulsa County to be able to do that.
Well, and they also help the environment incredibly. I don't think people realize how important they are to their well-being.
No, I mean, genuinely, I didn't realize the extent that trees play a part in our lives until I worked at this organization. Outside of just cleaning the air, they impact the water quality from what we drink to what the ecosystem and wildlife needs to survive on. There's even research that they have huge impacts on our stress. So just being out in nature will bring down our stress levels. There's new research in the last decade coming out about the impact of having trees on school campuses, helping kids, a lot more outdoor learning environments rather than just brick and mortar. So it's really interesting how connected we are to nature.
And what's interesting too is when you get the young ones involved, they're with it for life.
Yes, absolutely. And that's honestly this coming planting season, we're really excited because we typically are planting along highways, but we have a lot of city park plantings this season, so all ages can come join us.
What are the benefits to all of mankind, if you will, of having an abundance of trees?
How much time do you have?
Plenty, go with it.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the more you start to learn about the network of trees, I think the more you have to learn about the way our community could be better interconnected. I think trees provide so much and require so little. If you look at your dinner or your breakfast, I think you'd be shocked at how many things come from trees. Even just in your bathroom, toothpaste, all of these different bath soaps, a lot of sources are coming from trees. And I think we've gotten pretty disconnected from just the resources that it takes to move throughout our day. So to really start to appreciate the gift that trees give us, both in just the products we use, but also to the health of our bodies, the way that they, just being in nature, like I said, impacts our mental health, let alone our physical health. At the same rate as it de-stresses us, it also encourages physical activity. And I think the Gathering Place is a great example of that. How many people you see out there participating in outdoor recreation because they have this beautiful free public space. So in terms of mankind, I think it's an opportunity when you plant, whether with Up With Trees or in your own yard, I think that whole experience is really incredible to watch something grow that you had a part in planting and just participating in nature. And then if it's a food-bearing tree, you can do apples here and learn more about what does it take to actually produce the food you eat on a daily basis. I think there's a lot we have to learn from trees, other than just the passive benefits of the oxygen, the pollutants that they capture for us. Yeah.
So it provides a turnover in the atmosphere itself. Where do you get your seedlings?
So we do seedling distributions to the public, and we get those from Oklahoma Forestry out of Oklahoma City. But the trees that we're planting in public spaces, we have partnerships with local nurseries, such as Spring Creek Nursery is one to reference. And they have local growers that grow species that do well here. So we work very closely with them to get the trees that not only make our highways beautiful, but will do well in the spaces that we're planting.
I'm dying to ask you this one question.
Okay.
As I drive in from Tulsa to Claremore to do this show, I pass an area which is obvious to me. It's a tree farm. Now, I don't know a lot about a lot of things, trees being one of them. I know they're important. I didn't know they provided ingredients for toothpaste. That's a surprising thing. But I'm curious to know, is there a time that you can't transplant a tree?
That's a really good question. In Oklahoma, we experience such extremes in weather. So from really harsh winters to really hot summers, up with trees in particular, we plant from October to March because it's easier to plant on, it's easier on the tree to plant in that season because they're dormant. So it's less stressful. They're not as reliant on getting nutrients when their leaves are leafed out in the summer. So if we plant trees in the summer and they're trying to get established in 110-degree heat here, we've seen those trees die pretty frequently, even with regular watering. So in our region, we plant from October to March.
Okay, well, very quickly, because we're running out of time, you have a big holiday open house on December 5th. Where should people go? Where do they find out more about it?
So you can go to our website, upwithtrees.org, but it's pretty much a come and go event. You come to our office at 11th and Boston downtown. The idea is it's a potluck, but even if you don't have anything to bring, we'll have the main dish. Come, eat food with us, learn about our programs. If you've ever just had questions about what it is we're doing or want to get involved, or you just want to eat food with fun people, definitely come by and we'd love to meet you, talk about our programs.
Well, I got to tell you, Shawn, it's been a pleasure having you here and hearing more about trees, and we need to get behind your efforts more than we are.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure being here. There's definitely opportunities if you just want to come out and plant, or we'd love to have you out with us, Sam.
I'll be glad to try
Yeah,
it.
that'd be wonderful.
If somebody will help me get up.
That's not necessary. You get to be the encouragement, the moral support of the planting if you want.
Okay, Shawn, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you
We
for
really
having me.
appreciate it. We'll be back with more right after this. Finally today, I'm joined by Caroline Olsen with Youth Services of Tulsa. What is that?
Youth Services of Tulsa is a nonprofit agency that serves young people ages 12 to 24 in all of Tulsa County. So that's Owasso, Skiatook, all the way down to Broken Arrow, Bixby, and everywhere in between. We've got about 20 different programs, Sam, that they just aim to meet young people where they are. We were kind of founded on the idea and on the knowledge that being an adolescent and teenager is really challenging. I don't know if you remember what it's like to be a teenager, but it was awful,
It was
right?
awful, yeah.
You couldn't pay me to go back, and that's most people, I think, feel the same way. I mean, they're under a lot of pressure, just figuring out who they are and, doing that kind of experimentation and figuring out who your friends are and, trying to do well in school and, pressure from, not pressure necessarily, but, you've got siblings and parents and all these sorts of things. And then, especially in today's world, you add in the elements of, the internet and social media and that connectivity that is so wonderful for so many reasons, but also an added element of pressure for our young people. So
Something they don't need.
Yeah,
They
well,
really
right.
don't need it.
No, they've got enough, don't they?
You're having a Gifts of Hope.
Yeah.
What is that?
Gifts of Hope. It's personally one of my favorite times of year. It's the time when I get to turn into one of Santa's elves. And it works a bit like an angel tree. So our case managers work directly with our clients to come up with their personalized wish list. So that looks like 2 needs, 1 want, and their favorite snack. So what we end up doing is serving about 450 to 500 youth through this program. And that's a combination of our clients, but also clients' children, clients' siblings. Some sibling groups, some of our clients have 8 siblings, so we're able to serve all of them through this program. These clients probably wouldn't get gifts otherwise. So what they're able to do is ask for things that they really need, and then just something that's going to bring them joy.
Well, let me interrupt you here just for a moment, because I'm a little hazy on one element. How do you get, in other words, how do you get these children,
Yep.
these young people, into the fold? How do they become a part of it?
There are a few different ways. We have a street outreach center, so this is a drop-in center for young people to have a safe place to go during the day. We also have an emergency adolescent shelter, so young people just in need of a safe place come to us and can stay with us anywhere from 4 hours to 4 months. And so those are kind of 2 ways, but we also have counseling clients. We also have clients that are maybe in detention centers or in secured group homes who have committed a serious enough offense to put themselves there, so we can serve them and their sibling groups through this program. Any number of our programs can submit a client that they feel like would benefit. So that's health services, that's our youth advisory board, that's our housing program. So we see clients from almost all of our programs in Gifts of Hope, just because they're identified as their case managers, as recipients for this program, as people who would really benefit from having this service.
Help me understand, what age bracket then are we talking about?
12 all the way up through 24.
Really?
Yep. And so, needs kind of it really ranges. We get so many young people who wish for hygiene kits. These are young people that may be struggling to be able to afford that, whose families can't necessarily afford that. So, a little 13-year-old boy who just wants cologne, he just wants to smell good, or, a younger sibling who just wants, nail polish, wants to feel pretty, or, we also get young people who just need a tent. So that's a need that they ask for, or toilet paper. It's young people in our housing programs, because toilet paper is expensive. And so this is something that they can't necessarily get on their own, so they'll wish for it, or, a nice cooking set, or, anything like that. And then things like fire tablets to help the kiddos in school, or just get books and connect them to that kind of learning resource. So it really runs the gamut.
Well, you obviously fill a void that needs to be filled. Clearly, we have a lot of folks out there, and I use this phrase loosely, who are part of the forgotten Americans, and we can't let them slip through the cracks.
That's right.
So that's where you guys come in.
That's right. That's right. And I think it's easy to turn the other cheek, right? Just kind of look away and really just pretend that the problem doesn't exist. And, I think a lot of people think of these issues that we face as our community as kind of an over there problem, or that doesn't happen in my community. That's in downtown Tulsa, or that's in, under highway passes. But really what we've noticed as an organization and as a nonprofit community in the Green Country area is that these problems are affecting every single community. I think everybody can feel that crunch, that things are a bit more expensive, and rents go up, and houses are more expensive, and every single one of us feel that. But what people don't realize is it's affecting so many people on a level that we haven't seen in a long time.
That's right. And oddly enough, we hear talk about the homeless. We don't hear talk about the homeless children.
Yes. Yes.
And they're out there.
They are out there. And, when we think about youth homelessness, it is kind of talk about forgotten America. It's the invisible population. And, a lot of the youth that we have that are experiencing homelessness, sure, we have 18, 19-year-olds living on the streets. That absolutely exists. But, it also for us looks like young people who are couch surfing and relying on auntie or grandma or a friend, and that's not a permanent solution. I mean, these young people bop around, and really when we think about, home, what is it? It's safety and it's security and it's stable, and that's something that doesn't exist for a lot of the youth experiencing homelessness.
Stability factor is so important.
Yes, for sure.
Caroline, I want to thank you for coming by.
Thank you.
Keep us posted on things you've got coming up,
Sure.
fund drives, whatever.
Sure. Sure,
and
sure.
we'd be glad to do a little publicity thing on it for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anytime.
I really appreciate it.
All right,
Thank
you
you
take
so
care
much.
of you and
You too.
the kids.
Yes,
All right.
absolutely.
Well, that's all the time we have for this edition of Perspectives. Thank you for joining us, and I'll see you next time.